Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Passionate Professional series. The Passionate Professional series is an offshoot of the Passion and Purpose Hub, and the Passion and Purpose Hub is a channel that was set up to share useful knowledge so you can maximize your passions and your purpose, so you can enjoy not just success but also fulfillment in your personal and professional lives. At the moment, we are on episode 9 of the Passionate Professional series, and we have a very special guest in the studio already. His name is Dr. Dele Ola, and like I said, he's here in the studio and he's here to add value to us. So sit tight, fasten your seatbelts because you're in for a thrilling experience. As we always start, I always start with a bit of introduction. And for today's introduction, I thought, what can I start with? And I thought of getting a video clip from a movie that you've probably seen. So I'm going to share that video clip now, and then I'll introduce our guest. Okay, I'm not sure if the video clip played, but I definitely heard the audio. That was a video clip from a popular movie titled "Who Am I?" and it was starring the martial arts actor, very popular martial arts actor named Jackie Chan. Now, why did I play that video clip? Basically, as professionals, we need to get to that point in our lives that we need to ask ourselves that question. If you haven't reached that point yet, I think it's something that you need to consider asking yourself that question: Who am I? Now, for many people, they take the easy route out and they just define themselves by their professional titles. For example, saying, "Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a project manager." Well, that's not all that there is to you. You are more than just your title. You have a lot more than that. There's more to you than all of that. You have values, you have strengths, you have a vision, you have a purpose. And one of my mentors once said that with better awareness, we make better choices, and with better choices, we have better results. So you need to be more aware of yourself, and that's part of the reasons why this passionate professional series are set out to bring out people that are not just defining themselves by their professions, but they are going deeper and they are reaching for their potential. And in so doing, they are able to add value and make positive contributions, not just to their workplaces, but also to their communities and to the world at large. So I want to challenge you, if you've not done that already, reach out and find out who you truly are. It might take you taking some time off and doing some reflection or getting a mentor or just sitting by yourself and just thinking about it or asking people that know you to find out who you really are, and you need to write out all of these things because that's how you really discover who you are, and that's how you discover what your potential is. Now I can see that there's people already in the audience and waiting to be inspired by our speaker today. So I'll just go ahead and introduce our speaker for today. Right. So here is the profile of our speaker for today. Our speaker today is Dr. Dele Ola, and is an award-winning author of Be a Change Agent, Leadership in a Time of Exponential Change, and is the publisher of the Prowess Leadership newsletter, is a change leader, and is an accomplished professional engineer. His passions include corporate leadership, personal growth, skills development, and technological innovation. He started his leadership journey with Accenture, which is a global Fortune 500 company, before earning his Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering from the University of Manitoba. And he eventually transitioned into applied research in aerospace and manufacturing at the Red River College Polytechnic. After many significant contributions, Dr. La became the director of the Technology Access Center for Aerospace and Manufacturing, serving as a major contributor to applied research leadership. He's held many leadership positions and he has served on the board of several prominent organizations. In 2016, he won the Research Excellence Bravo Award, and his book, Be a Change Agent, won the business category of the 2021 Next Generation Indie Book Awards. He's an active leader in innovation and applied research. He continues to lead change in his work, and his vision, this is very important, his vision is to develop change agents to challenge the status quo and to take charge of the future so they can evolve into what they are meant to be in life. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to invite to the virtual stage Dr. Dele Ola.
Thank you very much.
Hi,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ola. I don't know. I think it's good afternoon in your time zone.
Yeah,
So good afternoon, and thank you for appearing on the Passionate Professional series today.
thank
How's your
you.
day been so far?
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and it's been good. Yes, it's afternoon here, and it's a rainy Sunday afternoon here in Winnipeg.
Is it sunny out there then? Is it sunny out there
No, no,
where
it's
you are?
rainy. It's been
Oh,
raining
really?
since morning. Yes.
Wow, it's 6 p.m. here and it's actually sunny, which is not something we get very often. But yeah, thank you so much for appearing on the Passionate Professional series. Like I said earlier, it's people like you that we want to meet and learn from because you're not just defining yourself by your job. We know that what you do doesn't really define who you are. You're more than that, and basically that's why it's a pleasure for me to bring you here because I know that I'm going to learn from you, and there's a lot of people in the audience that are going to learn from you as well. Now, for people in the audience, please note that this is an interactive session. So please feel free to drop your comments in the comment section and they will pop up on the screen. And if you have questions as well, please feel free. This is for me, I always consider this as an opportunity to meet with people to get that mentoring. I mean, because people like you, we don't get to put you down and sit you down for 1 hour and say, tell us about your experience, tell us what you've learned. And for me, it's always an experience. And so yeah, I, I just can't wait to start hearing from you. I think some people have started putting comments. Yeah, there is comments here. You're more than just a title. So please, the audience, just keep putting your comments. From time to time, we'll be addressing them. Don't feel offended if at some point it doesn't seem like we're putting your comments up, but we'll definitely address all the comments. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on the show. So we're just going to get started. Dr. Ola, I've just read your smashing bio, but like I always say, like it's good to have a bio, but it's always good to meet the person. Like if I met you and I'm like, who are you? Can I meet you? Tell me a bit about yourself. Obviously, you would not just tell me all those inspiring things. I want to hear things like things that you not put in your bio, but things that you want people to know about you. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tunde, for that warm introduction and a warm welcome. And welcome into the room, everyone from anywhere that you're joining from. It's my pleasure to be here. So I think you've said a lot from that bio, but like you mentioned at the beginning, this is not just about people going to work and returning home every day. We are more than just the job that we do, but just the regular cycle of life that we go through. So I agree with you passionately about that. And that's why I will try to introduce myself a little beyond just, all of the things that you have mentioned. So I'm also human like everybody. I would say that again. And apart from my professional work, which you have spoken a lot about, there is another hat that I wear. I am the co founder of the Prowess Company Inc., which is an organization that my wife and I started about 2 years ago. And one of the goals that we have, I would say the central theme or the vision of the organization is to build leaders and agents of change. We have both worked for so many years, and we thought that, you know what, there should be something beyond just this thing, just going to school, getting married, raising children, going to work every day, and then do that for 35 or 40 years, retire, and wait to count the rest of your days and wait to die, basically, which is the cycle that everybody goes through. So we
Yeah.
thought, you know what, we need to give back. We have learned a lot, we've gone through a lot in life. How do we repackage that and use that to become a blessing to the world? That's how
Mm.
we founded the organization. And our core values, there are just two of them right now. The first one is that everyone is valuable. And when we say that, what we mean is that everyone has their own unique skills, their own unique talent, their own unique abilities that must be respected. And that's actually how we change the world. We change the world by, trying to hone the skills and the talents that we have and packaging that together and giving it back to the world as a gift. That's how we change the world. The second core value is that we believe in what we call personal leadership. I would believe that everyone must take self responsibility for achieving success in life. Those are the things that we're focusing on. And over the years, we've done a lot of things, accepting invitation to speak like we're doing today, written books, we are doing training, we are doing seminars. I write a weekly newsletter just to make sure that we keep that fire burning. And we've got a lot of results. We've got a lot of comments from people who have been blessed by what we do. And just like you said today, we see ourselves beyond just the regular work life. There is more to life than all of that. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I agree with someone in the audience that says that I love that first core value that everyone is valuable, and the fact that I mean I've attended one of your workshops that you and your wife coordinated at the same time, and I felt that this is like the ultimate tag team. Like you and you were like passing the batons from husband to wife, and it was really really inspiring. Yeah, so thank you again once again for showing up on the show, and thank you for what you do through Prowess Leadership. um, I, I just wanted to ask on the side, the name Prowess Leadership, where did that come from?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So when we started the Prowess Company Inc., which now operates on social media as Prowess Leadership, we didn't have a name originally, but over the years, like I would say, as far back as when my wife and I were in the university, we had thought about prowess. Prowess means like strength or power or something like that, right? So we thought about that, and we used to joke a lot during those days. We say maybe one day we'll found prowess this, prowess that, prowess store, prowess company, prowess this, prowess all of that. So we thought about that, and we packed it aside for so many years. So 2 years ago, when we're getting into this, we were like, you know what? It looks like that prowess is going to be alive. It looks like we're going to bring it to life. So we decided to move forward and name the first endeavor, the Prowess Company Inc. You will notice that Prowess did not end with double S. It's double Z. It's Z.
Yeah.
And that one was just because there are other people that are already bearing prowess somewhere else.
Okay.
So we decided
Yeah.
to end with ZZ. And if you look at our logo, you will see that it looks like a sheep, like the front of a
Yeah.
sheep. So
Hmm.
what that is that the front of a sheep, like that shape that you see in front of the sheep, is actually called the prow. So it's the prow. That's where that logo came from, prow, which is like ahead. Ahead, what is ahead? Something of
Yeah.
that nature. And we thought, that prowess actually uh, encapsulates what we would like to do. It's,
Hmm.
empowering people. It's putting people in front. It's helping people to understand who they are and to serve as the prow for them to be able to forge ahead in life. Thanks.
Hmm. Well, that's really insightful. And now I know the background of where Prowess Leadership came from. So when I was reading your bio, I mean, I saw that you already usually ask people what their passions are, but you already stated your passions there clearly. You stated corporate leadership, personal growth, skills development, technology. So my question is, how did you come about those passions, or how did you find out that those were the things that you're passionate about? Because people always ask, like, how do I know I'm passionate about? But you've clearly defined your passion. So how did you find out that those are the things you're passionate about?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's in the course of my working over the years. I've transitioned from organization to organization over a period of time. And one thing that I always say is that there is a number one need in the world today. Many people don't realize it. The number one need in our world today is the need for leadership.
Hmm.
We define leadership a bit differently because when we talk about leadership, what comes to people's mind is this concept of maybe ruling over people or this archaic old way of defining leadership, which is the authoritative, having like a corporate professional role in an organization, being a manager or something like that. But that is not really the authentic leadership. The authentic leadership is about influence, is about giving yourself as a gift to the world and inspiring other people to become who they are meant to be, something of that nature. So for me, I'm looking at when we say corporate leadership, it's not corporate management because there is a vast difference between the two. There are lots of people in management positions today, but they don't know how to lead anyone, right? So my focus is mostly on that leadership piece. Like, how do you run an organization with the leadership ideology rather than just the management? Like, for example, if you are managing something, you don't want it to break, you just run the shop, you just want everything to continue to go through cycle. But when you talk about leadership, it's leading from the front, it's leading from the side and supporting people, right? It's leading from the back, is everything that a person can be in an organization to inspire other people towards a vision or towards a destination or to become passionate about a cause that everyone is working towards, right? So
Yeah,
that begins burning in me, and I was like, how do I contribute to this? How do I let the whole world know that there is a vast difference between the two? And that is one of the things that actually led to the book Be a Change Agent. If you read the book in three parts, you will see that the parts two and three talk a lot about team building. It talks a lot about the future and what leaders, the role that leaders should take, and all of that. So that's where that passion came from. And now I also transitioned that into personal leadership because the reason is that people that are individually able to direct their own lives are the people that will eventually become influential to help other people find themselves and also be able to direct their own lives and then direct the world, right? So
yeah,
if people are unable to have that personal leadership, then they are not really useful as a corporate leader, right? So then again, I went to my second book, talked a lot about personal leadership, all of the things around achievement and all of that. So just fulfilling that passion. And of course, the technological innovation came from my background. I work a lot in technology. Think about anything that is going on in the world right now is within the scope of my daily work, and that ranges from anything from advanced manufacturing to robotics, automation to digital technologies for different things. So it's just within my scope of work. But I want to just tell you right now that when we talk about passion, I see my role right now shifting more towards that developing leaders and agents of change piece. And the way I'm trying to do that is that I'm using my gift of writing to propagate the message that helps to build people up, right? And also, I'm using my daily professional work as a platform to show others how leadership should be done.
wow, wow. I mean, that's again really insightful. It shows that it's not something that you just wrote up from somewhere. It's something that you've thought about. It's something that you've ruminated upon. It's something that has become a part of you. And that's the thing about passion. Like when you know your purpose, then it's easy for you to know that these are your passions because your passions will ultimately get you to your purpose. So thank you for sharing that because and yes, I know you're definitely a technological person because I can't. I mean, you deal with robots and all of that. I don't think I have the technological know-how to do all of that. But yeah, thank you for sharing your passions with us. You shared the values of your organization, the corporate values of your organization. But I wonder if you have personal values as well, like ingrained principles, internal principles. Do you have some values that you want to share with us as well?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I have personal values. And when you talk about personal values, because people are different from people, I actually uh, talk more about what I call personal philosophy, right?
Yeah,
So it's not just the value. There are so many things over years that have shaped each one of us, right? Each one of us is shaped differently. And the way we are shaped, all the background influence, all of the things we've exposed ourselves to over a long period of time eventually shape our philosophy, our worldview, and then our value system, and then our character, right? So for me, I have a very conservative, that Christian, strict Christian background, and that
hmm
shaped a lot of things about me, right? So when you talk about things like honesty, like dedication to work, things like fairness, hard work, and all those kind of things, they are things that I hold very dearly. And also knowing that every single one of us on this planet Earth is here for a reason. So it's one of the things I value so much, that no one is above the other. There is nobody that is superior than anybody else. And our job here is not to actually rule over people. Our job here is for every one of us to find that space. So we are all like a piece of a very big puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everyone is needed to make the world function. So, and when you begin to exhibit your own talent and gift, that is when you become useful to the world. I hold that very dearly. And in the course of doing that, you need to carry certain attributes with you, and that is the fact that you need to be focused, you need to be diligent, you need to be hardworking, you need to be honest, and you need to have all those foundation that serve as a platform for you to grow to become who you are meant to be.
Wow. I just wanted to ask, where did you get that concept of personal philosophy from? I think I once heard someone, was it Jim Rohn, that says that you should develop your own philosophy or something. Is that where you came from?
Exactly, exactly.
Wow.
So Jim Rohn said you should develop your own personal philosophy, and I think he actually said it a little bit further uh, to describe something like let whatever you do, like your actions in life, be based on your own convictions and your conclusions about life. So it's
Hmm.
like not being drifted around by other people, because there are so many worldviews there are so many philosophies out there. So one of the things is that each one of us must construct our own philosophy. So we have certain backgrounds, we expose ourselves to certain environments, we expose ourselves to organizations, to people. Now that we are aware of ourselves, sometimes what shapes our philosophy when we are much younger is just the background influence. But when we grow up and we become mature, then we have an opportunity to build on whatsoever we have, or to jettison some of them and relearn something different, right? So everyone
Yeah.
has that opportunity to form their own personal philosophy. So I definitely know that Jim Rohn talked a lot about personal philosophy, and
And you also,
I borrowed a little bit from some of the teachings of
yeah,
Jim.
he's one of the greatest, isn't it? And
Yeah,
you also said something that really struck me. You said we're all part of a puzzle, and that just reminded me of a story that I once heard, that there was a father that was reading a paper, or he was busy, and then a child was disturbing him. Can you come and play with me, daddy? Can you come and play with me, daddy? And he was like, how do I just make this child go away and not disturb me? So there was a newspaper that had a picture of the world, and he just ripped it into different pieces and then gave it to the child, like, go and put it together. When you put it together, then come back to me. And then very shortly after, the child came back and everything was all together. And then the father asked him, how did you do that so quickly? And it was like on the other side of the picture, there was a picture of a person. And then I just put the picture of the person together. And when I put the person together, the world became okay. And that's what we need to realize today, that many times we say that the world is this, the world is that, but it all starts from individual people. And I love that you
exactly.
just brought that out. That was really, really insightful.
I like that analogy. Very great one.
Wow, yeah. So someone has already asked one of the questions I was planning to ask you, and the question was, tell us about some of your most productive habits, or what things that you do daily that make you who you are today.
Yeah. So most productive habits, there are so many of them, and the way I actually try to approach the habit question is that I understand that most of the habits that we form, they are products of our attitudes to life. So your attitude will actually determine what kind of habits you're going to form. They become the basis of our habits. And for me, I maintain certain attitudes that help me to form my habits in life. So one of them is that I can adjust to any situation. That's one of my attitude. I can adjust to any situation. So right now I sleep on a king size bed in a big house in a nice place, but I've had lots of experiences in my life, right? So I've learned to live when it was rough, when it was tough, when it was difficult, and to put myself back into that shape is not difficult for me. So if the only place left for me to sleep is in a rough garage, on a mat, in a dirty and dangerous place, I think I can adjust to that. So in my attitude, nothing lasts forever. I can adjust in any situation, whether I have, I don't, whether it's easy or not. So another one is that I believe that my life is under control and not out of control. Some people get to a point in life, things are not working, and people get agitated. They're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move forward. I always believe that things are under control. So that's an attitude. And I believe that I can learn anything, I can do anything if I set my mind on it. And those attitudes have helped me to form certain habits. So one of my habits is that I always have something that I look forward to. So like goal setting. So I don't want to just live and let the future happen to me. I want to
Mm.
make sure that I participate in my own future. I want to make sure that my future is a product of what I've thought through, right? So that's one of my habits. I write things down. I have goals. I have things I have to complete before the end of this year. I have things I have to do next year. So the other one is that in my habit, I read a lot of books. I don't just assume that I know everything. So I read a lot of books, and I believe so many people do too. The other habit of mine is that I am someone that likes to be self motivated. Some people require others to give them a nudge or to encourage them. People will say, "Oh, I'm down," and they stay there until somebody helps to kind of pull them out of the situation, which is a good thing. But I am someone that believes that nobody holds another any kind of motivation. That your vision, your dream, should keep you awake and should keep you moving forward. So I try to, no, it's not like I'm perfect in doing it, but I try to motivate myself. And I also do something that I call creative thinking. In fact, one of the chapters of my book, Pursuit of Personal Leadership, was dedicated to developing creative thinking ability. It's something that I do because some people don't know that thinking is a work on its own. You don't just think haphazardly, you just go through life just thinking as you go. Sometimes we have to dedicate time to thinking, and I do it. I stay quiet and I reason a lot. I stay few hours without doing anything, without writing anything, without praying, without reading, without doing nothing, just thinking. And it's a habit that I've formed, and I noticed that a lot of great things happen when you engage in creative thinking. So those are some of the productive habits that I have. I have
Wow.
many more, but I think we should stop there for
I mean, I've noted four. I mean, you say you're someone that plans for the future. You read a lot of books. You're self motivated and creative thinking. I think I like that creative thinking bit because, just like you said, a lot of people do not take the time to think because it is actually hard work. Thinking is actually hard work, and sometimes we get things that just come to us as small ideas and we just discard them. But what if we could just keep them somewhere and then go and think on them? Someone called it layer thinking and make them better, and that's how the world changes actually. But yeah, I like that you shared that you're someone that has the habit of thinking. I mean, sitting down, not doing anything but thinking. I mean, it's very hard to find people that can actually sit down and slow down and actually do something in today's world. Everything's moving so fast. Everything is fighting for your attention. But someone also said that attention is going to be like the new currency in the future because a lot of people will just not be able to keep it. So thank you for sharing that. Earlier when you were talking, you talked about how you've been through some challenging times in the past and you're able to adapt. Um, Someone once said that, I mean, when we see people that are successful as you can always come out and tell us about your successes and impress us. But for many people, it's when you talk about those challenging or those difficult times, that's when they're encouraged. So, is there anyone in particular that you want to share with us, so just for our own encouragement? So we know that if you've gone through this and you've come out on the other side, then we can also go through this and come out on the other side.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know a lot of the people that are great, like celebrities and all that, they tell us about their story, how they lost everything and then they rebound back again and all those kind of things. I don't think my story is quite like that. So I will go back to the earlier part of my life, maybe back to my teenage years. I had a really humble beginning growing up in southwest Nigeria. I was born into a family where the parents were middle class civil servants. And when I say that, just for the sake of people that are on this program right now that probably grew up in America or Canada or UK, Australia, and all these developed countries, middle class in Nigeria in those days, I'm talking of the 1990s, was not exactly the same thing as middle class here. Middle class people of those days in southwest Nigeria could not afford all of the things that they needed. So there was a bit of lack associated with being in that middle class. And I remember that in the 1990s, it was quite tough in Nigeria. Specifically in 1993, there was a general election that was overturned, which led to the crisis of 1993 and 1994. I believe Tunde would be familiar with all that June 12 things that happened in Nigeria then. So there was a very serious economic crisis. There was social issues, political turmoil. Nigeria was basically on fire. It was like we were shut down and in a war zone during that time. And one of the things that happened in my family was that because my both parents were civil servants, so they depended on salaries for the family to feed. And because of the problem, there was no salary for a period of about 7 months. And it wasn't just peculiar to us, there were so many families that were affected by this during that time. And I remember the hardship, days of nothing. Instead of cooking with gas cooker and kerosene stove, we resorted into like firewood and sawdust and stuff like that. A lot of people went into peasant farming. My family also, we did a lot. I learned to plant cassava, to plant corn, like all those things. It was quite hard. There was no school during a period of that time, and things were really tough for us then. But one of the things that happened to me as a teenager in those days was that I was able to see enough to start a small business. Whether to help the family or to help myself, it didn't matter to me at that time. And I will tell you what I did. So I got into a soap selling business. So the ways domestic soap were done in those days that they came in bars. So you cut the
Yeah.
bars and then you can use the bar to wash soap and like that. So I bought some slabs of soap and I cut them into pieces and I started hawking them around. I went from door to door, from neighborhood to neighborhood, asking people if they would buy soap. I carried the soap on my head in a tray. I wasn't ashamed of myself in any way. I just, that helped me to build something. Like I would say, I could be in any situation and not be ashamed of it, right? So I turned some of the cash around, and after a while, I was able to buy a popcorn machine and I continued like that, hawking around and those small businesses and work for other people until I entered the university. So some of the things I learned during that time, I learned how to be resilient. I learned how to have some business sense. I learned hard work. I learned planning and many more. So those are part of my story, and I cannot uh, talk about anything about my life today without going back to those days, the formative years when I had to go through some of those things with my family, right? They were
Yeah.
formative things. They were things that shaped me. They were challenging. But again, when I look back, I see why I had an opportunity to go through that because they became part of my story, right? So,
Wow. Wow.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure, just like you said, you were not the only person going through that. But some people, because of that, they would come out and say that's the story, that's the reason why we haven't achieved today. But it all depends on perspective. On just like you said, being self motivated, and you were able to turn it around and pick up entrepreneurial skills from there. And that's something that we need to know, that challenges are not really meant to stop us. They're just there to test how much we want what we truly want. And thank you for sharing that with us. So if you're going through a challenge at some point in, if you're watching this live stream and you're going through a challenge, just know that it's a testing ground for you. Someone said that challenges, if you come out, they come at the cusp of your growth. They come when you are just about to grow, and if you decide to just give up, then you miss that chance for growth. But if you embrace it and you become a better person for it. Now you've told us about a challenging time, but can you tell us about some of your big achievements, some of the things that you achieved? Let it be like a bitter
No,
and sweet
no, no,
story.
don't let us talk about achievements. I want to stay humble.
No, tell us about your achievements. I mean, it's not you being proud. It's just you
Yeah.
letting encouraging people as well.
Okay, so yeah, we can talk about some. I've had so many achievements in my life, and some of them from when I was very young, actually. And in fact, I used to jokingly ask people how many times they've been on national TV, because I've been on TV at the age of 10. So I used to just say that jokingly. That not to say anything extra special about being on TV. But when I look at my life and some of the things I've achieved, I think what will top the list for me is the impact of what I do. So where we started the conversation from was the other arts that you wear outside of your regular professional work. And I've
Yeah.
had a lot of testimonies from people. I've been able to rub my life on so many people, including my family to start with. And I could see a lot of lives that have been changed or improved right in front of me. I've seen people change the direction or change the course of their lives just because of some of the things I do. And I think that is a very great achievement. I've had people send me notes, after reading newsletters, they'll come and say, hey, thank you so much for that message, because that's exactly what I need right now. I've seen
Hmm.
people read my books and they come back to say, oh, yeah, thank you for that insight. If not for this, this wouldn't have happened. So I think for me, when I look back, those are very, very important to me, much more than anything else. But otherwise, I've had so many accolades, so many academic awards, book awards, professional awards, recognitions. Uh, but for me, they are nothing compared to the impact that have been made in the lives of other people.
Wow. I think on the screen is a picture of you. Is that your PhD graduation ceremony?
That was PhD graduation in 2013. That was 9 years ago.
How did that feel?
Well, if you want to know my opinion about that, you'll be so surprised. So I always tell people that, if you slept last night without a PhD and you wake up this morning with one, nothing has changed really. You are just putting yourself into more challenge. And I remember a friend of mine several years ago, after I finished my PhD, he was at the verge of deciding whether he should go for a PhD or not. He was just finishing his master's then. And he said he wanted my candid opinion about it, that should he uh, do a PhD or not do a PhD, I should advise him. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's going to be your decision. But let me tell you, if what you are looking for is making more money, what you are looking for is being able to make your life better because of a PhD, you have a wrong reason for going for it. You better just be interested in acquiring knowledge and being able to use that knowledge to do something meaningful. Like it's not
Yeah.
about the career opportunity you will have or the money you will make and all that. You better just be passionate about it. So he came back, he decided to do it, but he ended up being a faculty in one of the universities in America right now. So, and I'm happy for him. So for
Wow.
me, it's not really a big deal. When I was young, I knew that I would get to that level. I just knew it. I told my parents, everybody around me knew. Even during my undergrad, I knew that until I have a PhD, I was not going to stop going to school. And after that, I've not stopped because in 2016, I graduated again from an education program. I took another 33 unit course. People around me asked me that after PhD, you are not even resting. To which I told them, you know what, you have to keep learning, whether through
Yeah.
formal education or through informal means. We have to keep learning. And I think it's only a fool that will get to a point and they will say they don't have anything to learn again.
Mm.
So,
Wow. You just brought up another life lesson from that you should be a lifelong learner. Don't feel like you've reached the peak. Because when you feel like you've reached the peak, that's when you start falling. Yeah, and I also heard somewhere that it's not most people is because it's not when they get old that they stop learning. They actually get old because they stop learning. If you get what I mean, like when you stop learning, when you stop growing, that's when you start getting old. As long as you continue to renew yourself, continue learning, continue for how you can improve yourself, then you just keep getting better and better, isn't it? Wow. So you're not all about I know you are all about let me rephrase. I know you are all about personal development, you're all about corporate leadership, but I know that you also have some things that you do like hobbies and things when you are not doing that. So what are some of the hobbies? Let's meet the human person, if I
yeah.
can put it that way. Yeah, what
Yeah,
are some of your hobbies?
if you were interviewing someone else, they will probably tell you, oh, they like sports, they watch NBA or
Yeah,
UEFA or whatever it is. Unfortunately, that's not
that's
me.
not you.
So, but I have my own hobbies too. One of them, which is actually also interconnected with what I do, is that I love writing, and writing
Hmm.
comes to me naturally. And you know what? I didn't discover my creative writing piece until I was almost 40 years old. And that was quite concerning because I wish I had discovered that when I was much younger, so that I could maybe I don't know what would have happened, but I believe everything happens for a reason. There is always a purpose for everything. So one of them is writing, and my weekly newsletters, I don't spend more than maybe 10, 15 minutes on each one of them. It just comes. Once I discover the topic I want to write, I just sit down and I write it. So that comes to me naturally, and I love doing it. The other one is I love cooking. And in fact, you were showing a picture just now. That was the book launch of Be a Change Agent. So during that book launch, we decided to ask the audience some questions just to see if they knew the author very well. And one of the questions was that if Dele is not working or writing or doing any of the professional stuff, what else would he be doing? And one of my friends that know me very well actually answered the question and said, now he will be in the kitchen, he will be cooking. And that's a picture of me right there, cutting some cold grilled chicken. So it's part of my hobby. I love cooking and I love food too. And the last one is I love talking. So
Mhm.
I sometimes I don't shut up until people ask me to. So like on this show now, we can be here until forever if time permits, because I love sharing my my knowledge, love sharing my ideas with other people.
Well, I mean, it's good to meet that human person, not human part of you as well, like, because we're all human, just like you said at the start. Um, so thanks for sharing that. So, do you have any mentors in your life? Because we all know that people, almost all successful people have someone that they look up to, someone that is there to always as a role model for them to look up to. So, who are some of your mentors or role models?
Yes, I have a lot of people that mentored me at one point or the other. Some are perpetually kind of in my life. Some were at the point and the purpose of our connection ended, and then they had to move on. I can talk about a few. Number one will surprise a lot of people, but I want to be honest enough to say that it is true. My number one mentor is Jesus Christ, and I will try to qualify that very well. You can't really talk about some of these leadership things and all of that without looking at the exemplary leadership that Jesus Christ actually, gave the world. Think about it. 2,000 years and people in several millions, in fact billions, are still following him. If he lived for 33 years and he did work within only about 3 years, and within 3 years of work, he still has billions of people following him today, we have to learn something from that. So, his leadership philosophy, his humility, the love, and his teaching, especially I love the Sermon on the Mount. So, those actually build up a lot, and I think it will be my mentor until forever. So, that one is clear. But I have people also who might have been influenced by Jesus also, but some of them may not be, that I've learned from, like the late Dr. Miles Monroe. I learned a lot from that man, and I'm still learning. I'm still, consulting his materials and all that. His concept of vision, purpose, his ideology about, passion and all those kind of things are very inspiring. Jim Rohn, we've mentioned Jim Rohn, and
Yeah,
one of the aspects of teachings of Jim Rohn that actually inspired me a lot is that developing that personal enterprise sense, right? So you see yourself with that sense of personal enterprise. I think it's very important. John Maxwell on leadership and teamwork. And I have a lot of career mentors too, people that have impacted me in my career journey. I will mention a few names, people like Van Campbell, Ray Homsing, Fred Dwan. These people are not in this public space like John Maxwell and all of that, but I want to just mention some of the names so that you know that I have people that I look up to, that have rubbed their lives on me, and I'm so grateful to be connected with all those people.
wow. That's a long list of mentors, and you have a lot of. I'm sure you've drawn a lot of lessons, life lessons from them, and you're continually expressing that every day in what you do. Usually, I ask people that, do you have any favorite books or quotes? But you have sent me the list of books and quotes that um, the list of books, sorry, that have influenced you the most. And I found something quite interesting about it. I'm just going to show the list of books that you sent to me. Um, so those are the list of books that you've sent to me. And the thing I noticed about them is that although I've read all these books are, I mean, they are like classics. They are like old books. I know some of them. The Bible, like you say, was written probably they say about 50 AD. Acres of Diamonds in the 18th century, and the other three early 19th century. So obviously, you can't take each book one by one, but how is it that all these books, these whole books, why are these your favorite books?
Yeah,
If I can ask.
I will tell you, and I was quite intentional in listing only the classics and not any modern book. Of course, I've read a lot of new books like Atomic Habits and a lot of, like, there are so many books right now that I've read. But one thing that I found is that the position of the truth never really changes.
Mm,
So all of us are building upon a foundation that is solid, that have been laid before. So when you look at some of the classics, like take Richest Man in Babylon, for example, read any book today on financial wealth or principles or anything. They may not even give any regard to George Clayson for his work or make any reference to Richest Man in Babylon. You would see that the foundation of some of those things are based on these classics. So if you read the Wealthy Baba, for example, Wealthy Baba, this guy is talking about, save 10% of your income, and all those things have already been written before. So there is
true.
nothing absolutely new. So one thing I do is that as I read some of the modern materials, I make sure that I balance them with some of the classics, some of the ones that actually laid the foundation for most of the new things that we read today. So it's just like the Bible, right? You can write any book you like on the Christian faith or anything. It still traces its root back to that classic, which is the Bible. So that's just the way I see it, and this would be my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, you have your own books that you've written. You've written two books. So I'll ask about the Be a Change Agent to be precise. So what is it that inspired you to write that book, Be a Change Agent?
Yeah, so the inspiration for Be a Change Agent is actually very simple, and it's that redefinition of what change means. So, one of the things I emphasized a lot throughout the book is that if you were to define change 50 years ago, change 50 years ago was slower than what you define as change today. So, change can now be qualified as astronomical or exponential. That's what changes. And when things begin to change in a very fast pace like that, then those people that will lead the change must also adapt to that pace of change. And that's what the book is all about. So we can't do life as it's been before. So things are changing so fast. For example, one of the questions that people ask during interviews is, so where will you be in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah,
That question is irrelevant today. You better ask people where they will be next week or where they will be in the next 4 days, because things have changed a lot. Nobody knows what will happen in 5 years, because 3 years
sure.
ago, nobody knew that COVID was going to hit the world and the world will be where we are today, right? So
Yeah.
things have changed a lot, and we need to respond to change. And the key word there is nimbleness, or being able to adapt to the change. So, and in the book, I put them in three parts. The part one, I talked a lot about leaders of change. In part two, I focused a lot on teamwork. And in part three, I was talking about the future of everything, like the future of work, the future of enterprises, the future of learning, and also the future of the innovation landscape. And all of that wrapped up in this astronomical change that is impacting the world.
Thank you so much. I have played your book from start to finish, and I was really touched by your book. I was inspired by your book, just like you said, the three parts. I think my favorite part was that last part where you're talking about um the future of the world. You're talking about the future of work, the future of organizations or enterprises, the future of learning. I think the question I'll ask you is, I mean, people everybody, professionals today want to know, like, okay, what can I do to be ready for the workplace of the future? And if someone asks you that question, that what's the how do you see the future of the workplace, and what can I do to get prepared, how would you answer that question? Or what would you tell them to do? Is it to get more master's degrees, or to go and do a PhD? How can I get ready for the future?
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that you were part of the session that we did on the future of work, right?
Yes,
And
I
we
was.
talked a little bit about that. How can we actually prepare? Can anyone even prepare for the future of work? The answer is yes and no. So no, in the sense that nobody knows exactly what is coming, but yes, in the sense that we all know where we are today, and because we know where we are today, we can almost extrapolate and know what is very imminent in the near
Mhm.
future. And the key there is that we need to be adaptable. You cannot go to school, study medicine, and just like you have done, you are a
Yeah.
medical doctor, right? And then stop there. Now, what
True.
about the changes that will come in the medical field in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years? So, we are talking about the application of machine learning, for example, in
Yeah.
medicine. So, people that are doing high surgery or people that look at the high and all that for diagnosis, you probably don't need to stay in school for 6 years to be able to do that again, because if we have enough data, we can let machine decide whether a high has a defect or it doesn't. We don't need a doctor to actually tell, and with a very high degree of accuracy, right? So we
Yeah.
see a lot of careers pivoting into more of the technology driven, data driven modalities. So to prepare for the future is to be adaptable, to ask yourself, so what is next in this area? What can I learn? How can I grow? So is that nimbleness, ability to maneuver, not saying, well, I'm done, I'm settled, and that's it. So as the world moves, we have to keep moving. And one of the other things that I emphasize in Be a Change Agent, for example, is that we have to be proactive. So instead of waiting for things to happen to us, sometimes we just need to participate in that future. We need to be creative. We need to be thinking ahead. So everyone has their space. You don't need to invent the next rocket because that's not your area. You are not working with NASA. But if your work is, I don't know what to use as an example, maybe you are selling fresh produce, for example. You can think about, your fresh produce, how can you preserve them better? How can you distribute them better? How can you keep them longer? So in that small area of niche, ask yourself, how can you be ahead of the game? Like it said in my place of work, um, it's like going ahead of what is coming, something of that nature, ahead of what is coming. So you have to play that game of trying to be ahead of what is coming in your area of vocation or profession.
Wow. I think what I was able to draw from what you said is like we should not wait for the future, which is what a lot of people are waiting for. Instead, you should actually participate in that future, the making of that future. Don't just wait and say, oh, when it comes out. You should always be one step ahead of the game. Always be, if you are not at least one step ahead of the game, make sure that you are always updating as things go on. And that's very vital advice. You won't believe it. We've nearly run through 1 hour, and there's some questions from the audience. So I think I'll just ask one more question, and then I'll go to the question from the audience. And it's a very important question that I like asking people. And for you, the question is, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be known for, like when you leave this world, or
Wow.
even while you're in this world?
That's a very serious question right there.
I
And
know.
I think I'm somewhat prepared for it
Yeah.
because the very last chapter of my second book, Pursuit of Personal Leadership, is leaving a legacy. So if you
Hmm.
look at that chapter, I think it's chapter 10, I talk a lot about leaving a legacy, which can be in different forms. For example, you need to leave memories in the heart of people. People need to remember you for something. So I'm part of my what I want to be my legacy is that when I'm gone, when I'm not there anymore, I want the world to remember the things I've done. I want to leave a footprint in the
Yeah.
world. For example, we are talking about some of the classic books today, like the Napoleon Hills and all the Acres of Diamond and all of that. Those are footprints that were left in the world, and we are still kind of trailing that path today. So I want to leave something like that. The other one is to leave a name for the world to remember. There are certain names that are associated with certain things. Like when I say Rockefeller, you know who they are.
Yeah.
In Canada, we talk about the Richardsons, right? You know who they are, right? So those are names, and there are lots of very beautiful names. Even from Africa, you talk about people like Wale Soyinka. That's a name, right? You talk about
Yeah.
people like Bafemi Awolowo. That's a name. But you also have other people, like when you talk about Idi Amin or you talk about Hitler, there's something associated with some of those names, right? So I want to leave a name for people to remember. And not that alone, I also want to leave resources for people after me to use. Like people have given endowments that, started at Stanford University. People have left what they worked for to create a legacy, right? I want to do something like that also. And eventually, I also want to leave part of my philosophies. for the world to follow. So philosophies, if you look at some of the things that are controlling our world today, we talk about the Greek philosophers like Aristotle, like Socrates, all
Yeah.
those people like Pythagoras, they came up with certain ideologies that are now controlling politics, that are controlling our social life today, right? I also want to
Yeah.
be a contributor to the philosophies that will shape the next generation. And I hope that in my lifetime, I'll be able to reach those legacies. Thank you very much for
Wow.
that question.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing this. So it shows that you like I said earlier, it's something that you've thought of, and it's something that a lot of people never really take time to do, like to connect to their mortality, to realize that at some point I'll leave this world, and what do I want to be remembered for? And it's usually something that if you do it, it will actually motivate you, because you know that, oh, this is what I want to be known for, and then you are. It's more like you begin with the end in mind, which is, I think, was Stephen Covey that said that. Now, very quickly, I'm going to take some questions that some people have asked on the feed. So this is from Mike, and Mike says he has a very hard time stopping to think. He knows it's important, but he struggles to do it. Now, do you have tips on how to just take time to stop and think?
Wow. So, tips on how to take time to stop and to think. I was actually trying to remember the title of a recent newsletter that I wrote. I think I've lost the title now because I've written more than 20 of them
Several.
this year already. So, but what I wrote around that was the fact that sometimes we need to pull ourselves out of the regular daily things just to think. So, one thing I will encourage all of us to do, based on this question, and I think this question is not just from you, Mike, alone, or just for you alone. I think it's for every one of us. So, thinking itself, like we said, it's a work on its own, and unless we create time for it and space for it, we don't do it. So, many of us think that we think, but the reality is that we don't. So one of the things I suggested, I think in my book Pursuit of Personal Leadership, I actually listed some of the ways to do creative thinking. And part of it is to create, number one, create time for thinking. So you need to have a thinking time, basically. So in your daily schedule, maybe you want to create some, you have to put something in there that is a thinking time when you do nothing, absolutely nothing. All you do is just sit there and think. And the way some people have actually done this is that they do what they call meditation. You see people, even some people that do yoga and stuff. Like when I was younger, I thought yoga was an occultic thing. I thought, doing meditation was occultic. But later I found that it's not really. You need to create that time. The other one is that you need to create space for creative thinking or for thinking generally. Because sometimes, because of the boisterousness of our life, the busy things, you can't sit around people watching TV and they are shouting because they are watching English Premiership and think that you're going to be doing some creative thinking around them. Sometimes you may need to take a walk in the park. Sometimes you may need to go to a poolside or go to a river bank or go to some forest or something. And sometimes you may just need to have a secluded place in your house that you call a thinking place, right? Sometimes it's just before you sleep at night or when you wake up in the morning. Sometimes it's just when you are showering. That's when some of those ideas come. But what is important is that we need to create that venue for creative thinking. We have to be deliberate about it. So stopping is not easy. I agree with you, Mike. But we just need to put it in our schedule that we need to think.
Oh, thank you so much. We need to create time, not just time, space for thinking. Thank you, Mike, also for asking that very, very thought-provoking question. We have just a few seconds to go, to be honest. This is a very quick question from Fiogo Tonwe. And the question says, do you now consider yourself as a successful man? Or at what point will you say you're successful?
Thank you, Fugo, for that question. Fugo is my good friend, so he knows what he's asking about, and I will give an answer. And Fugo, you have read Pursuit of Personal Leadership. I know that for a fact. And one of the things that we emphasize in the book, or that I emphasize in the book, is the fact that success is not a destination for anyone. Success is a journey. In fact, your destination in itself is a journey, and that the definition of success is different for everybody. So it depends on the state that you're in, the stage of life, what you are doing. For example, if you go to college to study accounting and you graduate, you become successful based on that. But when we wrap it up and we are talking about being successful in life, there is no point where anyone will say that I am now successful. There is absolutely nothing like that. It's a journey. And until we die, we will continue to be on that journey. And success for you when you are 30 years old is different from success when you are 60 years old or when you are 70. In fact, for someone who is maybe 95 years or 100 years old, success may mean being able to go to the bathroom and return back to their seat, right? So
Sure.
again, we have to see all these things differently. And I wouldn't say that I'm successful. I would think I'm on a journey because I have so many things that I really want to do. I have so many aspirations. I have, in fact, right now I'm in certain types of challenges, things that are kind of deterring me from getting some of the things that I really want. So I won't see myself as successful in that sense because I know I can still do better than what I'm doing today. Thanks, Pedro.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Dele Ola. Thank you for everyone that's joined. I mean, I, if I had my way, we just carry on, we just carry on. But I think we need to stop at this point. I've learned a lot, and just like you said, success is not just a destination; it's a journey, and we need to learn to embrace that journey and celebrate the small wins along the way. Um, I think this is a very good place to wrap up. Just before I go, Dr. Dele Ola has promised that if you get his books today, you can get them on Amazon or through his website, which the link is scrolling below, www.deleola.com. You can find his books there. Um, be a change agent and the one about personal. I can't remember the name of the other one. Sorry,
Pursuit
can you
of
repeat it?
personal leadership. Yeah.
Pursuit of Personal Leadership. Yeah, you can find those books on his website or on Amazon. Now you can get them at a discounted rate of 2.99, whatever currency you deal with. I don't think naira is there, but I know
Wow.
Canadian dollar, US dollar, um, Great British pound, I can't, and the euro. You can get it at 2.99. Is ebooks. Trust me, those books would influence your life, and you can visit his website as well. So thank you to everyone that has joined here and contributed to the live stream as well. Yeah, the ones that make the show keep going. Because if you're not here, we'll just be myself and Dr. Dilala. Although we'll still learn a lot, but it's always good to have that interaction from the audience and to know that we're not just hoarding the knowledge, we're actually sharing it and making a difference in the world. So thank you to everyone that has joined. And as I always say when we close the show, till we meet again, make sure that you keep living with passion and purpose. Enjoy the beautiful month that is starting from tomorrow. Bye everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.